if you are like so many photographers that I coach, mentor, teach, the biggest thing is how do you get more time back in your life? Well, I'm going to teach you my exact workflow that saves me hours per week, like 5 plus 10 hours at least per week. So if you want 10 hours a week back in your schedule, well, this video is free. Hey there, photography friend. Sean Brown here. If you're a returning viewer of the channel, well, welcome back. If you're new, hey there, I'm Sean Brown. I'm a high school senior photographer and educator. And after running my business of 10 plus years, photographing high school seniors, over 500 of them, I've learned a thing or two of what takes up the most time and ultimately how to get more time back in your business. Because if you're tired of losing your time and you want more time with your family to be able to do what it is that you love, well, this video is going to be for you because I'm going to teach you my workflow on how you can literally cut out hours of just kind of random stuff in your photography business and how you can ultimately create a business that feels lighter while still making more. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button because we do put out videos every single week. And like this video, it's on topics like business, marketing, senior rep programs, all things to help you become more profitable and ultimately create a thriving business that gives you the freedom, flexibility, and time to do what it is that you want. In this training or this video, we're talking all about the time portion of things. So one of the things that I want to first start out is by saying that every photographer that has this problem of I feel so overworked, I feel burnt out, I feel like I'm doing a ton and they're not really seeing the return, is that a lot of photographers don't know where their time is going. And so the first thing that I'm going to make sure that you do, and I'm going to give this activity to you, is over the next week, what I want you to do is to create a journal that you're going to just kind of map where your time goes in your business. And the reason that I say this is because this is actually an exercise that I have all of my students do, which is called our time audit. So with a time audit, the reason you have to do this if you want to actually save time in your work is if you don't know where your time is going, we don't know where it is that, well, we can take time away, meaning that you're spending less time working in your business, or where you're actually doing really well and we don't need to optimize. And the reason we want to do this is because if you have an idea of like, hey, I'm spending 10 hours editing a dang senior session or a photo session, well, okay, that's an area we need to cut versus like, hey, I'm spending like 5 minutes a week on email. Cool, keep that up. I don't know if any of us are spending 5 minutes a week on email, but hopefully you get the idea. If you're spending 5 minutes somewhere in your business and another spending 10 hours, well, let's try to cut that 10 hours before we try to cut the 5 minutes because there's a lot more stuff that needs to be cut out of that if we want to actually be time or have the time freedom in our photography business. So over the next week, just jot down, hey, I did this task and it took me from this time to this time, or this task from this time to this time. And at the end of the week, you'll have a good idea of where your time is going. Now, I wouldn't just sit here and say, hey, just kind of estimate it because we always underestimate and it's actually more time. Just ask your spouse if you spend more or less time editing than you think, and I'm sure they're going to say you spend a lot more time than you think. So in this workflow, the first thing that I want to do is identify which areas of my week are taking up the most amount of time. So there are going to be activities like photo sessions or an ordering session if you do in-person sales. And some of the times we can cut a little bit of time there, but these aren't really the activities that we're looking for. So what I want you to do is after that week, map out and list any activities that are not like your core essential activities, meaning photo shoots or something like in-person sales. Now, you may have activities that are like computer work, like editing, or you could even say answering email, or maybe something like creating videos for your clients or anything like that. Now, or social media, that's another huge one that sucks a lot of your time. What I want to do is really pay attention to those types of activities. It isn't like a photo shoot or something where you are personally interacting with your client. Now, what we would call these tasks are like employee tasks, like something that an employee of a business would be doing, not like the head honcho or the CEO. So like you're the CEO of your business and you need to be doing a photo shoot with your client. You can't really replace that. So this method we're about to talk about is not really going to be applicable to it. But this method is called the DAD method, and I'm actually going to rebrand this to the DAD method, because we're adding in another element with something that's pretty cool that's happening right now that actually helps a lot of photographers save a ton of time. Now, the DAD method is delete, automate, and delegate. And we're adding in this new A, which is actually AI. So what is it that maybe AI could do for you? And with this methodology, this is actually worked into my client workflow in every single stage, because now what I can do is I have a process for everything in my business. So if an inquiry comes in, I have a process. If I need to edit a session, I have a process. You want to get to that point as well. But we first start with the DAD method. So in your business, all of those tasks that you just did, you want to look through them and you want to ask yourself, which of these could you delete? In other words, what's happening in your business that actually doesn't really need to happen? In other words, what are you doing that's not making you money? So if you're spending a few hours a week doing like Google SEO, and it's like, all right, well, my SEO's, I'm already number one on Google. I already have a lot of inquiries coming from SEO. You could probably cut that out of your business, or at least automate it or delegate it to an extent to make sure you keep up with your good SEO. That would be an example of like deleting. Or maybe what you do is every single client session, you're going to the store and you're like picking out their favorite candy, and it takes you like 45 minutes to drive to the store to pick up their candy, and you're like, okay, probably could just delete this out of my workflow because it's probably not bringing you a huge impact in your revenue. Yeah, it's a nice touch, but to what extent are we kind of going into the law of diminishing returns, meaning the time that you're spending isn't necessarily time that you're actually making back revenue in the business. So go through and say, hey, what is it that I could just get rid of entirely in my business? What is it that's happening in my business that I don't need to necessarily do in order for it to run properly? Now, the automate portion of this, the first A, is where it's going to get really awesome for you. And this is like single-handedly one of the best things that I've ever done in my business, which is to get a studio management system or a CRM in place. Now, I use Irisworks, so we'll make sure to include a link here. I believe it's 20% off your first year if you use the link. So try it out. If it's right for you, do it. But basically what a CRM does is it automates everything in my client workflow. So a lot of what was sucking up my time when I did my own time audit is I was spending a lot of time coordinating with clients, sending the same emails over and over, making sure that I sent them the emails on time, getting them prep information, telling them basically everything that they needed to know to keep them organized and create a premium experience for my clients. Now, the issue that I ran into is a lot of those emails weren't getting sent out on time. I was spending a lot of time, effort, and energy that I could be spending in other places that were more profitable and productive in the business. And lastly, if I didn't get that email sent out, now my clients were behind the ball and they weren't feeling prepped and organized, and it was actually making their client experience less good. So what I did is years ago, I switched over to Irisworks. Their team is incredible. And now what I do is in the automation portion of my workflow, every time an inquiry comes in and every time I book a new client, I create a workflow, and now Irisworks does everything for me. It gets their contract sent out, the link for that, it collects payment. It also, you can even program it to have a booking calendar for you so they can book their session date right then and there. So no more back and forth. And after they're a booked client, now what I can do is I make sure I select their session date and it sends every single email they want. And if you're thinking, okay, well, isn't that less personal? I actually had a client years ago say, thank you so much for sending me all those emails. We felt so organized. And they didn't even actually know that I wasn't the one sending emails. So this is just one way that I automate in my business that helps my inquiries and my bookings, and it makes sure that my clients never miss a beat. This has literally saved on average 2 to 3 hours a week. So just by putting that one thing in your workflow, boom, you've got 2 hours at least a week on making sure that your clients are not only prepped and ready, but that you have time to spend with, playing with your kid or going to your son's soccer games or just spending more time with yourself and having some more of that work-life balance, or I like to say life-work balance as well. Now, the next one in the DAD method is delegation. Now, this is one thing a lot of my photographers that I have talked to and coached, this is going to be the trickiest one, but it's the most fulfilling, rewarding when you start to do this. And the reason I say it's the trickiest is because so many photographers give up early. When you learn the art of delegation, and not like meaning like we're going to, basically we're going to tell people what it is that we need done. We got to make sure that first we are telling them properly and training them in the right ways. This is kind of all of an art. But when you start to delegate properly, things like video, so all of the video, the one that's being edited right here is actually delegated out. All of the vlogs that we make for my senior portrait business is delegated. We have a team that produces our YouTube videos for us. We also delegate things like making sure that if we needed, signs delivered to our clients, we can do that. You could even delegate things like packaging up orders, or delegate making sure that your senior rep events are being planned. You could delegate it to the team, to your reps, and say, hey, we're going to create an event. I want you guys to brainstorm ideas, and you're working with these parameters, and boom. Now all of a sudden they can plan a photo shoot. Now I wouldn't recommend this, but the ideas you could really get flowing endlessly, right? So one of the things that we could also do are things like blogging. We could delegate that to a blogger, or SEO or website design. We can hire this out. Now, this isn't to say hey, just go spend your money endlessly, but we want to be smart with what we're delegating. Things like editing, if we want to have somebody processing our images before they go into our editing software or anything like this, we can delegate that out. Now, what I would do is in your time audit, and this is going to be kind of a little bit abstract, meaning that it's going to be kind of hard to put a number on it specifically, but that's the point of the exercise, is in all of your tasks, I want you to just assign a dollar amount, meaning how much money does that actually produce for the business? So something like a photo shoot might be like a $500 an hour task, because you're like, dude, I'm making bank on my photo shoots. That's where I'm with my clients. That's where I'm spending a lot of my time, my effort, my energy. That's what's making money in the business. Something like posting to social media or writing an email might be like a $2 an hour task. The reason I bring this up is because what you can do is start seeing where those tasks that aren't as high of a dollar amount start coming into your business. These are tasks where we can delegate or we can automate. And things that like sending an email that don't bring a lot of value to the business are things that we're going to want to either automate or delegate. And this also goes for things like editing and YouTube videos that you're posting for vlogs or anything like that. We want to make sure we're getting those off of our plate. Now, you might be asking, what do I automate? What do I delegate? And you're going to automate the things that there's like a software or some sort of system that does it. And you're going to delegate the things that need more of a human touch or a human impact on them. Now, the delegation stage, if you can, now what we're going to do is we're going to step a little bit more abstract, and things like having an assistant via AI is something that you could delegate to AI. So things like, hey, let's plan out a social media calendar. Now you might want a little bit more human input than just like a system or a software, and AI is able to work with you. And this is kind of the new way of saving hours and hours and hours. So with delegation, I save about 4 to 5 hours right there a week. With AI, I'm saving even more time. Now, AI is really cool. We could even go into things like having it write blogs for you and working with it to craft blogs, editing your images. There's some really cool AI retouching, AI editing software out there like Evoto or Aftershoot or Imagine that culls your images as well. And so these can be really great. Now, you need a little bit more human impact, so it's not completely delegated because you still kind of want to have your like finger on the pulse, so to speak. But these are just another way that you can save hours and hours. So between all of those, AI probably saves me another at least 3 to 4 hours a week. So we're at like 10 plus hours a week that I'm getting back with my time. And this is because in my workflow, what I'm doing is I'm having a process, either deleting, automating, delegating, or using AI to take things off of my plate. I want to systematize as much as I possibly can. So what I would encourage you to do is go through the time audit and see, hey, what's your system for these? What's your workflow for each of these processes? And how can we get more off of your plate to ultimately free up more time for you? So hopefully this helps. Let me know in the comments which of these you're most excited to try out. Would love to hear what you're doing as well in your business. If you've got like a certain thing delegated or automated or a really cool new AI tool or anything like that, let me know in the comment section. Help other photographers out. If this video was helpful for you, like the smash the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. We're going to be putting out tons of YouTube videos on things like marketing and branding and senior rep programs and pricing and taking better photos, the works, everything that's going to help you run a better senior photography business. And to roll the next video before the next one comes out next week, we'll just check it out right here. YouTube's going to suggest something that they think you'll like from our channel. So check it out right here. We'll see you next video.